After World War II, a new eugenics was resurrected out of the bones and ashes of the old eugenics. The eugenics movement has been at the forefront to establish a new scientific racism that justifies oppression and exploitation and racism.
En fait, le racisme fait partie intégrante des origines de la psychiatrie.
The entire history of psychiatry, beginning with scientific conclusions that were made in the 1830s, was an effort to prove the intellectual inferiority of African Americans.
Benjamin Rush is the father of modern psychiatry. And he is the one that gave us the term nigritude. He said that all blacks have inherited this disease. And this particular disease, it caused them to be inferior. In addition to that, it was the reason why it was very important that blacks remain segregated and separate from whites so that whites did not inherit this disease.
Affirmant que la négritude était une forme de lèpre, Rush justifiait la ségrégation comme étant une nécessité médicale. Et cela devint l'argument pour maintenir l'esclavage.
The fact that you have brutalized a whole group of people had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with some genetic link, and that basically you were just a diseased person. So when a slave master wanted to get rid of a recalcitrant slave, they could just say, oh, well, they're suffering from this disease.
Drapetomania, that is the name of the mental disorder that was contrived by Samuel Cartwright, who said that blacks have a mental disorder if they had a desire to run away from slavery.
Running away became such a common problem that psychiatrists attempted to give that a disease. He says, but that's a cure for that. And the question was, well, what's the cure for that? Frequent whippings, frequent whippings. You'd be surprised how that disease clears up when the lash is put in place of their excuses.
Après l'abolition de l'esclavage, le racisme psychiatrique a continué et s'est intensifié. Le journal américain psychiatrique proclamait que les nègres, en tant que descendants de sauvages et de cannibales, n'étaient pas faits pour une civilisation plus avancée. C'est ainsi que leur pseudo-science, l'eugénisme, intensifia le racisme.
There is a clear and long and intimate connection between the eugenics movement and the Ku Klux Klan. Harry Laughlin, who was the Carnegie Institution's director of the Eugenics Record Office, had close relationship to the Ku Klux Klan through the publication of a book called White America, which was written by a major Klan leader. So Laughlin wrote a glowing review of the book in the Eugenics News. And at the same time, you have the Ku Klux Klan using eugenics to justify their racist goals.
Mais le racisme psychiatrique n'existait pas qu'en Amérique. Certains des pires abus du XXe siècle se sont produits en Afrique du Sud, là où le gouvernement adopta les mêmes théories et méthodes racistes qu'Hitler. Ce n'était pas un hasard. Le Premier ministre avait étudié l'eugénisme dans ses études en Allemagne, sous l'influence des nazis dans les années 20.
Dr. Hendrik Verwoerd is regarded as the architect of apartheid. He saw South Africa as a divided state with whites, blacks and brown people living in totally separate areas, with black people having no rights whatsoever.
L'apartheid fut l'occasion pour les psychiatres d'ouvrir des hôpitaux psychiatriques partout dans le pays, qui n'étaient en fait que des camps de travaux forcés.
These places operated under a private company by the name of Smith, Mitchell and Company. They were saving money through the cheap accommodation for psychiatric patients while making a massive fortune out of money that Parliament had appropriated for medication. So it was a corrupt system.
Lorsque cette exploitation fut enfin dénoncée, on découvrit que 67 000 prisonniers avaient péri, tandis que les psychiatres avaient perçu 117 millions de dollars de la part du gouvernement sud-africain. L'Organisation mondiale de la santé publia un rapport disant que la psychiatrie cultivait le racisme et que l'apartheid était comparable à la propriété et au commerce d'esclaves. En 1971, aux États-Unis, le psychiatre Jolie West perpétua le racisme psychiatrique en manigançant secrètement la thérapie par aversion appelée « Centre contre la violence ». Son projet, financé par l'État, implantait des électrodes dans le cerveau des mâles afro-américains et hispaniques quand ils se montraient violents. Si cela ne fonctionnait pas, il les castrait chimiquement avec des drogues. Quand cette proposition raciste se heurta à l'indignation du public, le projet fut vite enterré. Malgré la diminution des théories racistes implacables de la psychiatrie, elle n'était pas éliminée. En 1994, le psychologue Richard Ernstein, co-auteur du livre The Bell Curve, prétendait prouver que les Noirs étaient génétiquement inaptes et de ce fait inférieurs aux Blancs.
The Bell Curve really argues a very old eugenics idea. It argues that people are born with different kinds of intellectual abilities, that these are inborn pretty much at birth. It goes back to the notion that somehow black people are genetically and biologically inferior to white people as a way to justify what was really its programs of social racism and social sexism. And you see that kind of thinking going on in public school testing and IQ testing and educational testing and tracking.
And this new tool fit into that old mold. It was a new tool that could prove the intellectual inferiority of African Americans.
The psychiatric profession has done great damage, certainly in the past, and far too many in the present too, to subvert democracy and perpetuate racial stereotypes, even more, deep racism in society.
We have to battle against this continual misinformation, disinformation, pseudoscience. It can be repackaged in whatever form or format it is. But if it is based solely upon the color of one's skin and then is the merit of that human being, I just reject.
De nos jours, la flamme de la haine continue de brûler, entretenue par des mensonges pseudo-scientifiques. Voilà l'héritage de la psychiatrie, pour justifier le racisme et servir de prétexte à une répression politique.